Well, Razorback fans, the hits just keep on coming. Boogie Fland is out for the year. So let's talk about today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday afternoon starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Wednesday, middle of the week. Gonna talk a little bit about Arkansas and Georgia tonight in a basketball game. Jeez, I can't even say that without cracking a smile because I know it's just something that I don't feel like many people want to hear about, but we are going to discuss it, and we'll also get into some football things, dealing with Taylen Green, quarterback position, and college football and all that. But we have to start, of course, with the breaking news. For those of you who may be waking up to this, we actually did a live stream last night on Inside Arkansas Live as Boogie Fland, the point guard for the Razorbacks, the true freshman, is out for the season. It's according to a report from John Rothstein of CBS Sports. He's one of the guys that if he tweets something out like that, he probably knows a little something. He says sources that he will miss the remainder of the season, significant SEC news, and has to deal with his hand injury. It's due to a hand injury. So at the time of the recording of this podcast, folks, this is all we know. This is all we know. Kind of the timeline there, though, was that John Calipari said after the Missouri game that Boogie Fland really messed up his hand and is probably going to be out. And so I think he also talked about it happening in Florida, in the Florida game. I think Billy Richmond stepped on it, something like that. Very vague, very up in the air, but looked like that was the case and that was the issue and that's what happened. So when we last heard, it was just going to be out for some time. And then when the official injury report came out, he was out. So nothing surprising there. But when John Rothstein put that tweet out, it suddenly became a lot more apparent that it was not just a simple, a little boo-boo that he can come back from. It's a significant injury that has taken him out for the year. It continues for Arkansas. When it rains, it pours, right? Now, I know a lot of you are going to have some thoughts on Boogie Fland and Boogie Fland being in a situation to where he's dealing with an injury, and you're going to have some thoughts on that, and we can discuss some of those thoughts. But here's the deal. Boogie Fland is a significant blow to this team of not having him on there. They've been going 0-5 anyways. But this is a guy you're talking about who's averaging 34 minutes a game, 40% from the field, 36.5% from three, 84% from the free throw line, while also being second in the SEC in assists per game at 5.7, while only turning the ball over 1.6 times per game. Also averaging 15 points per game. Gives you 3.5 rebounds and 1.5 steals. Now, I know, again, the season has not gone great. It has not gone the way that anyone has wanted it to go. But that's crucial. And it's a huge miss. And it really makes that Arkansas-Georgia game tonight even weirder. So let me first and foremost say that I really hope that Boogie gets healed up. I hope that he recovers from it well. Boogie's been one of my favorite players on the team. And he was on the very beginning. He's fun to watch. He's got energy. He's got swagger. He's from the Bronx. There's just a little bit of uniqueness, a little bit of coolness to him and all of that. So I want to make that clear that that needs to be something that's really discussed and really made aware that, I hope that he gets well. But besides of what's just going on the court, I want to throw this in there as well, folks. So what Boogie will do the rest of the year will be significant, or at least interesting to me. If he's out for the year and he has an injury, is he going to be the guy that still stays on the team? As in, he's at practices, he's on the sidelines, on the bench with the team, street clothes, but he's there. He's in the huddles, trying to lead, trying to cheer, trying to motivate. Is he going to be that? I really hope so. I really hope he is. But you can't help but think. You can't help, with all the things that you know, try to connecting dots of saying, is this a significant enough injury to which, if Arkansas was 4-1 instead of 0-5, would it be a season-ending injury? I get why some of you may think that. Because the pieces are there. You start to see, okay, the team's bad. They're not playing for anything as a team anymore. It's gone disastrous. These kids, or this particular player, Boogie, trying to go to the NBA, trying to get drafted. He's starting to do things that was hurting his stock, maybe. So instead of playing again, just shut her down, put a little cast on the hand, and ride it out until the NBA combine and the draft, and hopefully you can get something going there. That's what a lot of you are probably thinking. And I get it. I totally get it. I don't agree with it just yet, but I get it. But here's my approach that I'm going to have. I'm approaching it in the way of giving Boogie the benefit of the doubt. Until I'm given a reason otherwise, to think one way or to see something another way, any of that, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt in saying that it is a bad injury that he cannot play on. He wants to play on it. He tried to play through it, but they got in there. They checked it out. They said, this is bad. You can't play anymore. And he's pissed about it. And he's upset because he continues wants to play, but he's got to do what's best for him. And this is what the injury is. And that's why he's out for the season. That is what I'm hoping for. And that is the benefit of the doubt I'm giving him. But it is just another notch in what it is. Folks, we are literally flirting with the most disastrous and the most epic fail of a Razorback basketball season that I've seen. Truly. I don't believe this team is going to go 0-18. I'm not going to predict them to go 0-18 in conference play. However, this is one of the first times I felt like it could be a reality. It could be something that happens. And you're already struggling as it is, and one of your best players is done for the year. Like how in the world can you even feel good about any of these games? Georgia tonight is a much improved team than what it was in previous years. How could you think that you're going to win? How can you think you're going to beat even Oklahoma, who's not good? How could you think that you're even going to beat them? There's nothing you can point to, unless proven otherwise. Again, I'm not predicting they go 0-18 in SEC play. But I also can't point to a game that they're going to win. So, it's a pretty dark time, isn't it? It's almost just on brand. Most Arkansas thing ever. Hog's going to hog and all of that. However, let me provide something for you. Maybe, just maybe, this is something that can open up a door for somebody else that really needs to make some great plays and really needs to be great from it. I'm looking at you, Nelly Davis. Yes, the name gets thrown around a lot. A guy who has not played well at all, who's not been good at all, who has struggled and people have been frustrated with. He even got booed a little bit. He's just been a shell of himself, and he's not worth the NIL, blah, blah, all of the stuff that gets thrown around. I'm talking about Nelly Davis. Nelly, you struggled. There's no doubt about it. But if there was ever a time for you to kind of gain back the Nelly Davis that people know and saw down there at Florida Atlantic, the guy that could get you 20 points a game like that. If there's ever a time for you to have an opportunity to feel comfortable about it, that time is now. It's now. You are not going to have a better opportunity than what you have right now. The ball now is going to be in your hands more than it has been all season long by default because there's no one else. You only have, 2 players on this team. Actually, you have more, but you see what I'm saying? Like, you only have 8, 9 players on the team anyways, which is a major mistake made by Cal, and I think he'd even admit that. But now you're missing your best guy there. So at the guard, it's like, oh, well, maybe DJ Wagner. Well, DJ Wagner's averaging more minutes a game than Boogie Fland was. You know who's averaging the top 2 minutes per game in the SEC? DJ Wagner and Boogie Fland. Those 2 guys. More minutes than anybody in the SEC. And one of them's gone. So DJ Wagner, it's like he can make up for it in the minutes. It's got to go to some other guard. And Nelly Davis, you're the answer, man. I talked with Curtis Wilkerson last night on Inside Arkansas and Pod at the Palace and did a live stream on it. But it's like, you're going to put Billy Richmond at point guard. Why not? At this point. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? You're going to lose? Mix it up, go crazy with it, stir it up, do wild stuff. I don't care. I really don't. Because whatever you're doing is not working now, so what's the harm in trying something different? I don't see any problems with it. So, make it happen however it needs to happen. But Nelly, this is you. You have now the chance. And I would hope Cal just lets him do it. What's the worst that could happen? Just give Nelly the ball and be, hey, go do stuff. Do something. You have full reign, full control. Go do it. Like, what's the worst that could happen? Let Big C start. Shoot a bunch of threes. Why not? Get crazy with it. The season's of the failure as it is. Just go crazy. Go wacky. Maybe something wacky happens, like winning. Try something like that. But again, I hate it for Boogie Fland. I really do. And I hope he gets better. And I hope somebody, anybody, makes the most of an opportunity that's in front of them. I don't expect him to. I'm not predicting him to. But man, oh man, wouldn't it just be nice to see that happen just once? Just one time. Let's talk about football, shall we? Taylen Green getting Heisman odds? Apparently. We'll get to that and more on the other side of the break, so stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, this message is brought to you by PrizePicks, the place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions in winnings, PrizePicks has changed the game in daily fantasy sports. Whether it's the playoffs or the regular season, PrizePicks has made it easier than ever to win big while enjoying the football action. Now it's playoff time, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with PrizePicks. Here's how it works. You simply pick more or less on at least 2 players, and if your picks hit, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. That's right, 1,000 times your money by simply making a few picks. For me, it's all about the hot takes this season, so start making some hot takes when it comes to your picks. They have the flex play. You can still double your money even if one of your picks does not hit. Even with the app, you can get those winnings fast. If I don't destroy my entire table. That was really scary, though. But you can double your money as fast as in so much as in 15 minutes. Jeez. So get ready to run your game this football season. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play a $5 lineup. That's right, $50 just for playing. Don't wait. Take your game to the next level with PrizePicks. It's PrizePicks. Run your game. All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I want to talk some football, which I know most of you don't want to. I don't know what you guys want to talk about these days. It's rough. I get it. But I wanted to bring up the Heisman odds. It sounds so stupid to even mention this, but I'm going to. So this actually comes from FanDuel. It's the early goings and the early showings for Heisman 2025. Guess who has the best odds? Garrett Nussmeier, actually. LSU quarterback. 9-1 odds. Not surprising. I mean, Brian Kelly's had a Heisman Trophy winner before already, right? Sure. So seeing him there is not going to be, too big of a shocker. However, you got Nico Ilimava. I always forget how to say his name. From Tennessee being third, 11-1. Lenore Sellers, 20-1. DJ Lagway, 25-1. The list goes on and on and on. But if you go down further and further, you'll see Taylen Green at 150-1 odds. Taylen Green. Yes, that Taylen Green. It's fascinating that a player who finished second in total yards, passing yards, that is, last year in the SEC, let me rephrase that. The quarterback that's returning in the SEC, second most passing yards behind Garrett Nussmeier. Fifth in the SEC, I think, overall. Got to 3,100 yards. Has a whole new offensive line, whole new wide receiver crew, few new running backs, new tight ends as well. That's a lot of change. And when I see that with Taylen Green, I'm not predicting Taylen Green's going to win the Heisman, folks, just so don't get me wrong. But if there was a fascinating bet that I would want to make, a futures bet, if you would, I'd put it on Taylen Green. Why not? 150-1. Could he have, theoretically, a better season next year than what he did this last year? Theoretically, yeah, I think he could. I mean, listen, the guy's a dual threat athlete. Like, he's better than anybody. He passed for 3,100 yards. I think he rushed for 700, 800 yards, something like that. So who's to say that he could not have an even better year, statistically speaking? He has to stay healthy. The wide receivers have to come through. He's got to be protected with the offensive line. Like, there's a lot of things like that. But development-wise, if the old adage is to be held true that all you got to do is just wait another second year under Bobby Petrino's offense and you're good as gold. If that's the case, then it might be an interesting bet. But here's the deal, is I actually really like Taylen Green. And I'm saying that because I know some people don't. But I like Taylen Green. I like Taylen Green. I like what Taylen Green has been able to do. I like what Taylen Green's been able to become. I like what he can become also at Arkansas for another year. I think he's a good leader. I think he's a great representative of Arkansas. And I think that he's really going to shine next season. And I really hope that he gets the love and appreciation he deserves. But just think about if he has a big year, how great Arkansas will be because of it. How much better of a season it'll be. Like, if I told you right now that statistically, Taylen Green had better completion percentage, more yards, more touchdowns, less interceptions than what he did a year ago. I think everyone's going to be like, oh, well, if that happens, then yes, Arkansas is going to have at least just as good of a season, even with that schedule. So I like the chances. I like what Taylen's going to do with that Petrino offense, but I hate living on potential and hope, but it's all I got, dadgummit. It's all I got right now. Speaking of, we'll talk a little bit about conferences. SEC, it's always been known as being the best, but are they anymore? We'll talk about it on the next segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, so stay with us. All right, Razorback fans, I'll tell you about this very serious thing. Therapy is a game changer. It can help manage stress, improve sleep, and communicate more effectively. But finding the right therapist and fitting sessions into a busy schedule can always be a challenge. Well, that's where Talkspace comes in. Talkspace, the leading virtual therapy provider, helps getting the help you need easy, accessible, and affordable. With Talkspace, signing up is simple. You can match with a licensed therapist who fits your needs, usually within 48 hours. And it's convenient. You can have sessions from the comfort of your own home, even message your therapist between appointments. Plus, Talkspace is covered by many insurance plans. And for the most insured members, there's a $0 copay. It's never been easier to prioritize your mental health. As a listener to this podcast, you'll also get $80 off for your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com/LockedOnCollege and enter in promo code SPACE80. That's SPACE80, all one word. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com/LockedOnCollege and enter in promo code SPACE80 to get $80 off your first month and show the support for the show. That's Talkspace.com/LockedOnCollege, promo code SPACE80. All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. This has been a topic of conversation since the College Football National Championship came to an end. Ohio State won it, as we mentioned yesterday. But people have been bringing up the fact that, the SEC's cooked. The SEC's bad. The SEC sucks. The SEC's no good. The SEC is overrated. It's all out the window because, the Big Ten's the new king in town. So Ohio State and what they did, Penn State into the semis, even Indiana, giving Notre Dame all that they wanted in a game like that. There's a lot of that talk. And I'm going to be honest, I know that the SEC is not as good as what it once was, or at least not as dominant. The gap is not as high. I think the transfer portal and NIL has really changed that a lot. But I also believe that where it stands right now, the SEC is not, I won't say it's worse than the Big Ten, but it's not better. Because to me, college football still, even with an eye on all this stuff, is about coaches. It's about coaches. Good coaches. Ryan Day, for instance. People crapped on Ryan Day all the time, but if you look at his win-loss record, it's stupid. He's like 80-10 or something like that. Like just insanity. He's had a great run. James Franklin, I don't like the guy, but the dude's a phenomenal coach. He's won everywhere he's been. And when Harbaugh was there at Michigan, they won. I know he's not there anymore, but my point is that it's about coaches in this conference and in this sport more than anything. Yes, the NIL is important. Yes, all this is important. But right now, folks, in the SEC, you have Kirby Smart. He's the only national championship winning head coach in the SEC right now. And he did go to the playoffs as the number 2 seed this past year. Steve Sarkisian is the closest thing to it. I don't think that he's going to win one. I'm not going to predict him to win one. But he's the closest thing to it. And besides that, you have a bunch of coaches that are good, solid, but national championship winning coaches? Nah. No. You don't have the Nick Sabans. You don't have the Steve Spurriers. You don't have Brian Kelly's even getting brought up, but I just don't see him being able to do it. And maybe he's another guy that's an option, but you just don't have those coaches in anymore. You don't have the Urban Meyers. I only see one coach that can win a national championship in this conference, and that's Kirby Smart. And in the Big Ten, you're probably like, well, Ryan Day, he's the only one that's really done anything there too. Maybe, but Coach Sig in Indiana, I'm not saying they'll win a championship, but I mean, if they got as much NIL as what they're bringing in, and he's as good of a coach as what he showed this year, I could see it a lot easier. James Franklin, he hasn't won many big games, but it's like, maybe one of this years he breaks through. Could happen. I just don't think it's as dominant as what it once was. And not to mention, you still got teams like Oregon in the Big Ten. Can't forget them. Almost did. So, point is the SEC bad? No. Is the SEC the best? Maybe not. But it's about the coaches. And one of these coaches are going to have to step up if Arkansas wants to win a national championship. Or if the SEC wants to win a national championship. I don't think Arkansas is going to do that anytime soon. But somebody's got to step up in that coaching ring. And till that point, the SEC just ain't what it once was. Appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Nabors Show for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. Keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you then.